Hi, this is Bobby Ryan of the Detroit Red Wings, and you are listening to Empty Betters with Nick, Mac, and Harrison.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to episode 65 of Empty Betters. I'm your host, Harrison Schulz. I'm going to toss it across the screen to my co-host, Nick Manella. How we doing, buddy?
Doing good, man. Can't complain. It's been like cold as hell here the last couple days, but as you guys might notice from behind me, finally took down my Christmas decorations that had been up basically through March. So
Nobody gave you any shit about that. I'm shocked.
no, not at all. So yeah, here we are, thriving.
I still got a little Christmas tree in my apartment. No shame. Now we're going to toss it off to our producer on the West Coast, Mac Vogel. How we feeling, buddy?
I'm doing good. I can't exactly relate to the Christmas problem. I actually never decorated for Christmas in the first place this year.
Lucky man.
With it just being a weird year with COVID, didn't go home, stayed in Cali. So kind of feels like we skipped Christmas this year. But on the bright side, I didn't have to take any decorations down. Undecorating the tree is just like, that's got to be the worst thing ever.
And it takes like twice as long too.
Find every individual box for the right things, and
then you look down and like your knees, legs, and hands are just covered in glitter, which makes me like want to crawl up inside my skin and die.
And then if you decorate with your girlfriend, it prolongs the process like twice as long. Yes. Yep. Nick's like, no comment. She might be listening.
And also, it's not as fun. Like decorating takes forever too, but there's music and there's like booze and like
yeah. When you get that, it's a little more fun. Yeah. When you're not decorating, you usually don't have that.
Yeah. True. I learned so much this year about how all my ideas for decorating are terrible.
Oh, good for you! You finally came to that realization, huh?
Yep. I guess it's just not my thing.
Oh, damn! That's such a shame.
It really is.
Yeah, I'm sorry for you.
That's okay.
You don't seem too broken up about it.
No, you know what? Fail forward. I tried, didn't get it, but keep it rolling.
Love it.
There you go. That's the name of the game. So today's episode, we were lucky enough to be joined by goaltender with the Tucson Roadrunners, aka
Tucson.
Did I say Tuscan?
You gotta be kidding me.
Tucson Roadrunners.
It's been 5 minutes.
Sorry, Chris. Tucson Roadrunners, AHL affiliate with the Arizona Coyotes. May have heard of them. Chris Nell. We appreciate Chris Nell joining us. Sat down with him last week, one of Mr. DeSalvo's friends. We appreciate, Dan, you hooking it up. It means a lot. So we will have that interview in the middle of the episode later on. There's a lot of league news that we need to cover before we get there. And I'm going to toss it across the screen to Nick to drive the bus.
Before we get into the news, Harry, you and I were actually texting about this morning, but I'd like to point out, because this was like, I was today years old when I learned this, like the Coyotes affiliate is the Roadrunners. Like that's hysterical when you think about it.
Yeah. When you think about it, which, us not thinking.
No, it took us a while, but
yeah, 25 years.
Yeah. I actually never thought about that until right now either.
Right?
That is kind of fun. That is kind of cool though.
Yeah. At least you didn't say Tuscan. Dude. Every episode, it's something.
Anyways, so the Habs fired their coach. It was like a meteoric start to this season. They were just, going straight to the moon, and then they came crashing down pretty hard. So yeah, they fired Claude Julien. Dominic Ducharme is the new head coach. And do you guys think this was like really dumb, overreaction, too quick? What's the thought process here?
I don't know. I'm so torn on this one. I don't know what to say fully about it. I think that Claude Julien is obviously a tremendous coach, Hall of Fame coach, but it's a little tough for me to believe that like he was the problem. You know what I mean? Like I think initially I was kind of shocked just because you don't think of a guy like that as being the problem. But then again, we don't know what's going on in the locker room or anything. Perhaps it was the right call. I trust that they're an organization that I would like to think they know what they're doing. They're the Montreal Canadiens. You wouldn't think they'd make a hasty move like this unless they really like had something up their sleeve, or they like kind of like, I don't know, maybe think maybe they like a guy that's on the market right now, and that's why they didn't want to wait or something. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out like in a week or two, but I just don't think we have the full story here yet.
Did you guys hear Shea Weber's like he gave like some writer for The Athletic like a bit like when Julian was still there and they were struggling. He's like, yeah, it's just like super negative around here right now. Like it's kind of what he said. I might be paraphrasing a little bit, but when you get a guy of that kind of caliber, experience, leadership saying that, kind of raises some eyebrows.
I'm not sure if I heard that, but that is interesting.
Yeah, it's just strange. I don't know if this is going to propel the Canadians. I know Bergevin is on the hot seat, right? Because this is kind of his last kick at the can if they don't make the playoffs. He ain't gonna get re-upped. So I think he's pulling out all the stops right now. We'll see. I mean, they promote the assistant coach. Julian has, had a track record of sometimes burning out, little like he lasts a little bit and then the flame just dims after 2 or 3 seasons. I don't know. I personally, and you guys know how I feel, think that the Canadians were a little overrated coming into the season, and I was shocked at how good of a start they had. Now I think they're kind of sitting where I expected them to, like probably that bubble spot. So I don't know. I don't think that this propels them farther forward though, to be honest with you.
I don't know. It's hard to tell. Like you guys said, like we don't know the full story of what was going on in the room. And sometimes if there is negativity and there's just like a negative energy going on there, one of the quickest things you can do to try and fix that is to fire the coach. So, maybe he was just a consequence of how things were going there, but who knows? Longtime NHL player Todd Bertuzzi was arrested the other night, suspected DUI. So the 46-year-old was apparently like swerving all over the road. And then he got stopped at a red light, got pulled over and arrested because I think he denied like a breathalyzer or something. So that's not good. The Edmonton Oilers claimed goaltender Alex Stalock off waivers from the Wild on Monday. And Stalock hasn't played a game so far this season, but he does have a .909 save percentage and a .261 GAA in 151 career games between the Wild and the Sharks. So I don't think that's pretty bad.
I think he was sort of a career backup so far, but like made little stints here and there of like, oh, maybe this guy can be the start. I think he actually was starting for a bit in Minnesota. The tough thing is I just read that I know he hasn't played this year because he had COVID. But I just read that due to having COVID, he's developed a heart condition now. So I don't know if he's actually going to be able to return or not, or what the timetable for that looks like. But yeah, I don't know exactly what the Oilers' move was in picking him up, or if they didn't know that or what, or if it's fine and he has one, but it's playable and he'll be fine in a bit. Who knows? That's all I know. But
that sucks.
Yeah.
Patrick Kane notched his 400th goal on Sunday night. It's a pretty big milestone.
The greatest United States-born player to ever live.
For sure.
Say it.
Yeah.
How's it? 100th person in NHL history to reach the 400 marker. Congratulations to him. And my God, those reverse retros are nasty.
Yeah, impressive career so far. What else can you say about Kaner? He's had an unbelievable career, and it was good to see him get the 400th, honestly.
Definitely.
Sick goal too.
Oh, it was.
Little toe drag. It was nice.
Sammy came back for the Caps. Ilya Samsonov played his first game in pretty much 6 weeks after being out for that lovely breach of COVID protocol, and didn't start the game very well. Let in like 2 complete muffins, but one was deflected. The Caps get it done. They get the win. That's the important thing, and it's good to have Sammy back.
I love that they were like, oh, he's gotten torn up like 3 nights in a row in the AHL. Perfect. He's good to go. Call him up. Like he literally lost like 3 games like badly with the Bears. And then they were like, cool, you're good. Let's go. And I didn't get to watch that game live. I watched it on replay. First goal sucked, as you said. I don't think he looked great. But like you said, getting a win just is so important, like for his confidence and everything. Just to get him in an NHL game again, get him a dub. Hopefully he'll be all right moving forward. I do hope we like start Vanacek next game though. I really would like to see them.
I think he's expected to.
I want them to just trade off and see who plays better. But it's good to at least have two guys that are like, they feel like they're the guys that are supposed to be there now. You know, no offense to Anderson, but it's like that's not really doing us any good for the future to like start
No.
him, you know?
6 weeks is a long time for any athlete to be away from their sport, but I feel like for a goalie, just, you know, getting those reps in and night out, I mean, that's got to be so hard to, you know, sit for a while, then go to Hershey and then come back and do it. So I'm glad to see that they got a win in his first game back.
Might want to add Mr. Fucali, former guest, into that list of goaltenders that should get a crack at something because he's been lights out in Hershey.
I think it's like, we were talking about this the other day in our group chat. Like it's just time. Just why not call him up?
He's earned it, dude. And if you haven't listened to that interview, you know, he went through a rough patch and he talked about some of the struggles he had. And there's obviously nothing but respect, and you can't help but cheer for the guy at this point. And he's doing wonders right now for his career. So hopefully he can keep it up. And I really hope he ends up getting a crack at the Caps lineup.
I think he should. I mean, why not go with the young guy? He's playing lights out in Hershey. He's putting up some incredible numbers and standing on his head. So
he's got like 3 shutouts or something, I think, right?
Exactly.
Like and he's only been up there for like a month.
Yeah.
So
he's tearing it up. Speaking of goaltenders, did you guys see Binnington just go like full Hulk Hogan trying to fight like, you know, the entire Sharks bench?
I find it interesting that in Danny Cristo's interview, we asked about him and he said, yeah, you know, like he's got that mental, like, I don't want to say edge, but he likes to get fired up. He fires himself up. He's got to like hate something. I kind of got that vibe. He's one of those guys who has to hate something, even if he has to force himself to.
Well, and didn't he say something like, I forget exactly what Christo said, but you're right. He mentioned like he's always had a little bit of grit to his game. He said like that's always been part of his game or something like that. Yeah, it's interesting to see that. I mean, I love when goalies like get, you know, you don't want to see anybody upset, of course, but it's fun. It's fun to see goalies
Just
a bit
watch
more
the
worked
wires
up.
cross.
Yeah, exactly. Just because, you know, you don't see a lot of goaltenders are so cool, calm, and collected when they're on the ice. You don't see a lot of personality. But just thinking back too to when, God, who was it that was it Samsonov that slid for that win or whatever in the playoffs in the bubble? No, Varlamov. That's what it was. Varlamov. Yeah. He like slid on the ice like after a big dub. I don't know. I always love seeing big emotional stuff from goalie fights, goalie celebrations. So,
and this is just one out of, you know, left field. I don't really understand what happened. He got pulled because he played like shit, and then he basically bumped shoulders with like 2 different Sharks players, and then went by their bench and kind of, I don't want to say taunted them, but definitely jawed off. And he won over Blues Twitter. I tell you that. He played like shit, but nobody remembers anymore. So that was a good tactic.
Yeah, whatever it takes, right?
Yeah.
Sabres forward Jeff Skinner has been a healthy scratch for about 3 straight games, and that goes back to last Thursday. He's in the second season of an 8-year, $72 million contract. He has yet to score a goal this season and has 1 assist in 14 games.
Do you remember this? Probably was like episode 20 when I said this about how this was the worst thing they could have done. And Jeff Skinner's a Band-Aid. And the year he tore it up and had like 40, I was like, whoever signs him to a big ticket is going to be an idiot.
That was a one-off. That was like William Karlsson's year where he put up like, what was it? Like 45 goals.
Yeah. It's exactly what I said. You can rewind the tape. I've been saying that since day one. And this is falling right in line with that prediction. I mean, the Sabres are a dumpster fire, and God knows what's going to happen because Eichel's been scratched for the last couple of games too. And some say it's day to day with something. I think it's like, let's see what we're getting here. So yeah,
they got to do something. I mean, and this contract it sets them back so far in doing anything productive.
Team's in shambles, and it's a shame really too, because you really did think that they're going to turn it around. They have their young D-man and Dahlin. They have Eichel. They have Reinhart. They have Cousins. Skinner's supposed to be better. They just don't have a goalie. That's kind of always been the grudge.
I think this trade deadline is going to be bonkers. Honestly,
I hope so.
I think it's going to be a good one.
I hope so too. And like, the only thing that's like holding me back from saying it will be is like I keep hearing of all the different quarantine rules when you get like players or coaches. So like if you're making a run and then you have
Yeah.
to take a 2-week quarantine for the guy that you got to remove someone who's already in your lineup, is it worth it? Like I don't know. I hope you're right.
That's a good point. I think maybe we'll see more interdivisional stuff because I think there are less rules on stuff like that. I think
It's like
typically
going over the border too, isn't it? Like if you're going
Right.
from the US to Canada, you have to do 14 days.
Yeah.
And it's 7 days on the way back.
But I think that you know, you try not to trade in your division for the most part. Typically, but maybe we'll see more of that this year just so they're like, screw it, let's just swap guys and see, you know what I mean? Like it might be more of a fuck it mentality this year. We'll see.
Maybe for those Canadian teams, because you don't want to wait 14 days, like you guys mentioned, for a player coming from a team from the States. So
I've seen lots of stuff about Matthias Ekholm going somewhere. He seems to be a really hot name about getting moved somewhere. I saw 3 different Metro teams on the list as possible destinations, as well as Winnipeg, maybe. So look out for that.
Interesting.
That kind of leads right into the next point, Nick, is the sellers at the deadline.
Yeah, Buffalo and Nashville. They're sort of understood to be basically having a garage sale, I would say, coming up. So
yeah, I don't think anybody on the Sabres is safe besides Cousins right now, and Dahlin, whatever.
They won't trade him.
No, but as we said it last week, but these Eichel rumors are starting to get out of control. And now that he's scratched, they're getting even more out of control. And I keep hearing the Rangers. I keep hearing it.
Please.
And he has
anything but that.
He has history with Coach Quinn. I think that was his coach at BU.
Oh God, that's not what I want to hear.
No.
So it fits perfectly. I mean, it all the cards. That's not the saying. I was gonna say all the cards kind of stars kind of aligned. There you go. Saved myself.
When I think about him going to the Rangers, like what it would do for that team, short term, great, long term, salary cap nightmare. But
they're going to have a lot of names to sign is the other thing. Like, it's great that you have a lot of prospects and a lot of young guns, but after those entry-level contracts all hitting this, at the same third year, you're kind of fucked.
Yes. Have you guys seen some of these things that are on Instagram that it'll break down what each team would have to give up to get Eichel, even if they're not like a contender to get him at all? Like it still does what it would cost that team.
Nuts.
The one that made me just cringe so much because A, this team does not need a guy like this, and B, what they were giving up, I was like, bro, I would easily give that up. Was Tampa Bay. It was like saying all they would have to give up is Cirelli, Sergachev, and like a first rounder, which granted, I say all you would have to give up. That's a lot of value right there, but I still don't know if it's enough for Jack Eichel, to be honest.
If someone offered that to me and like Chell, I'd be like, accept.
Yeah, exactly.
Dude, if he goes to Tampa, holy shit. And now that you say it, now it kind of like, I feel like makes sense in my brain. Somehow they'll end up crunching cap and everyone's going to be like, how'd they do it? They could probably shed Palat too, or Johnson in the making.
Tampa doesn't need Eichel. Tampa does not need Eichel. Neither do the Rangers. I don't know where I want him. Just out of the Metro.
Nowhere in the East. Just
out west.
Just push it out west. A couple injuries to get to. Austin Matthews has a wrist problem in his day-to-day. Apparently it's just sore, but this is like Leafs freak out number 4 of the year. So
oh my God.
Right on schedule. Sidney Crosby is on the COVID list. He's not going to play. What is it? They have a game tonight, I believe.
Yeah, they play tonight, March 2nd against the Flyers.
Okay. So something to keep your eye on, but like we've learned, that could be 2 days or that could be 2 weeks. So
or 2 months if you're Sammy. So
yeah, seriously. Derek Stepan is going to be out for the entire season with a shoulder injury that I believe he is going to need surgery on. That sucks for the Senators. He's got 6 points in 20 games, which if you're playing for the Senators is pretty good, just because they are that bad. But yeah,
hey, don't talk too much shit. They're kind of hot right now.
I know they are, but like
catch a little fire.
Yeah, I feel bad for him and I feel bad for them because I felt like that was a really good move for them to get him. Just depth guy who can sort of be steady Eddie up the middle. And when you have a team with that many young kids, it's something that you could really benefit from.
No, I totally agree. And I think I might have accidentally made you skip this earlier, but speaking of injuries, Tarasenko is expected to return this week.
Yes, he is.
Uh, Coach Berube said Friday there's a good chance that Tarasenko will make his season debut on Friday on the Blues' upcoming road trip.
Nice. It'd be good to see him play again.
Yeah, he's one of those guys you don't want to see him out. You don't want to see any stars out, but especially with the type of scoring prowess that he has, you
For
want
sure.
him in the lineup.
Some more on the Buffalo Sabres. So Linus Ullmark is going to miss some time. He missed both of the Sabres games over the weekend against the Flyers with a lower body injury. That's not good because I think he's actually played some decent games for them so far this year. So things are only getting worse in Buffalo. And then Jack Eichel, like we mentioned, is considered day-to-day. And no one knows if this is day-to-day with an actual injury or with, I'm going to keep you out of the lineup so I can sell your ass. We all read the thing that him and his coach gave, contradicting reports, like that Eichel was injured in the warm-up game that they had against, or a warm-up in the game before they had against New Jersey. And Eichel saying that's not true. Here's what's actually happening. So who knows? But yeah, definitely something to keep your eye on because, Harry, like you mentioned, those trade rumors are not going away.
No, and the worst that the Sabres do, you imagine that it will probably keep heating up. You hear it about Eichel, you hear it about Eric Stahl, you hear it about Reinhart. Who knows? Buffalo is a garage sale, as you mentioned earlier. So, but that will pretty much wrap it up for injuries and news around the league. We are going to get to the Chris Nell interview right now. But before we do, we want you to know that this interview is brought to you by Brackish Life. If you're like us and grew up on the water and outdoors, then Brackish Life is perfect for you. They have a wide selection of gear from UV shirts to hoodies and hats. It's Real Bay apparel made by Real Bay people. Head to www.brackish.life today to check them out. A little salty, a little fresh, Brackish Life. Brackish Life has also teamed up with Rink to Reef Chesapeake Bay to preserve the area many of us call home. Rink to Reef repurposes broken hockey sticks into oyster restoration habitats. Brackish Life donates a portion of their proceeds to Rink to Reef to further preserve this beautiful Chesapeake Bay area. Support this great cause by checking out www.brackish.life today. We're going to toss it off to Chris Nell right now.
All right, everyone. It is now my pleasure to welcome onto the Empty Betters podcast, Mr. Chris Nell. Chris, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. And how's it going?
Good. Of course. Pleasure to be on.
Yeah. Well, we're happy to have you. Like we do with all of our guests, why don't you just tell us a little bit about where you grew up, where you came from and how you got started in the game of hockey?
Yeah. So I'm originally from Green Bay, Wisconsin. If we're talking specifics, a little town called De Pere. And actually, I'm the first person in my family and extended family that I know of anyways that has played hockey. I kind of started that route it was like I think either preschool or first grade, and a bunch of my friends had come into class one day and we're talking about a learn to skate program, and I went to my mom and dad and said, "Hey, I think I want to do hockey," and they kind of both looked at me like, "Are you sure you want to do hockey? Like we can do basketball," and I was like, I was very dead set on hockey, and that's kind of how it started.
So it's funny you say that you're the first person in your family, because I feel like a lot of the guys that we know that you're a goalie that ended up playing goal, they were either like the younger brother or like the youngest in the family, and you just found yourself in net. So how did you end up wanting to play goal as opposed to being a forward or a defenseman or something?
Yeah, so I was actually a terrible skater growing up, and I think that's kind of what started it all. Is I think I might see, so like the lowest team you can play on kind of in that first year, and we had a tournament, and I kind of had to rotate. It was my turn to be goalie, and I played well, and then the tournament came around, and they asked if I wanted to play the whole tournament. I ended up playing that whole tournament, and then we kind of still stuck with the rotation the rest of that year. And then when like the state tournament came around, I played goalie for the whole tournament. We ended up I think winning that one. So then the next year I was just like, I want to do that full time, and I made the jump up to the A team from there, and I kind of just never looked back.
Very cool. So what was the hockey scene like for you, growing up in that area?
I think it was good. I think it was kind of just starting to get back to a place where we started seeing more and more talent and more guys kind of growing up, like through that Green Bay area or even in the state of Wisconsin in general. And I think there's a lot of excitement behind programs, and there's starting to be more and more competition throughout our area.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Kind of want to fast forward a little bit, so you're on Team Wisconsin, and then I'm assuming when college decisions come up, obviously you went to Bowling Green. Is that, before I ask anything else, is that how you know DeSalvo? Were you guys teammates?
Yeah. So I
Okay.
actually I knew DeSalvo's brother before I knew Dan, Nick.
Okay.
So I knew Nick through the Chicago Steel, actually, where I played juniors. He was our, I want to say, video coach my first year there. But that's how I was involved with Dan. Yeah.
Is there anything you can tell us about Dan as a teammate? I'm just curious. He was a fun interview. He was a fun interview guest for us.
Yeah, no, he's a great teammate, and yeah, he's an unbelievable dude, and he'll do anything for any of the guys on his team. That's for sure.
Nice.
What was he like what was he like in college?
He was a menace, that's for sure. Love to have a good time.
There we go.
But he definitely was a guy that led by example, both on and off the ice. And he, I would say he definitely took me and definitely a couple of the other guys under his wing throughout my time there with him.
Awesome.
I want to talk a little bit about Wisconsin with you. I actually went to school in Milwaukee, went to Marquette for 4 years. So kind of familiar, not super familiar with like Green Bay area and all that, but just curious sort of, I mean, you mentioned that hockey, was big when you're growing up, but it was interesting to me how most people that are big hockey fans in Wisconsin tend to kind of gravitate towards like the Blackhawks or something like that, just because there's no pro team. Were you the same way, or did you really follow the NHL growing up, or not so much?
Yeah, so I think I was more so by which goalie I was kind of watching at the time, and I was a big Avalanche fan growing up because of Patrick Waugh, and I think that's the team I kind of gravitated to the most until I kind of moved over to Marc-Andre Fleury. I loved watching just the way, like, his attitude towards the game and how much fun he was having, and just how he competed. So I think I would say Chicago and Minnesota, if like outside of if I was watching goalies, just because I had family both in the Twin City area and just like a west or northwest suburb of Chicago. So if I wasn't going off of goalies, I kind of was split between Minnesota or Chicago. But yeah, it's definitely, I would say definitely heavy Chicago base when it comes to hockey in the Wisconsin area.
What was your recruiting process like for college? I mean, were you looking at a lot of schools? Were a lot of schools looking at you? And when did you know that Bowling Green was, going to be your home for the next 3 or 4 years?
Yeah, so it was during my first year playing with the Steel, I kind of had a rough start, and it was just a little bit of up and down. And I want to say right around Christmas, I would say probably is when I kind of started to find my game, and is when I started kind of got in contact with BG, and they were wonderful throughout the whole process. They gave me a bunch of time. They wanted to make sure that I wanted to go there, and they wanted me there. And but outside of them, I think I had a couple other schools. I think UMass Lowell sent their the questionnaire that probably everybody in the U.S. gets, but I had some talk with Colgate. I was going to go on an unofficial to Denver, but outside of that, I think I didn't have much going on, and I just fell in love with BG's campus and everything that their program was trying to do, and I think that's what made me kind of start leaning towards them.
Yeah, I mean, your 3 seasons and the last 2 in particular, the numbers you put up were absolutely insane. Is it what would you attribute that to? I mean, I'm looking at your second year there, and you had a 191 GAA with a 930 save percentage. I mean, that's just those are unbelievable numbers to actually say out loud, especially given the fact that you played a significant amount of games.
Yeah, I think it was just the guys I had there as goalie partners, I think we never stopped pushing each other in the most competitive way, but also we had such good friendships. And I think no matter who was going in the net, unfortunately for them, it was me most of the nights, but they never held that against me. They always came to practice and wanted to make me a better goalie, and that made me want to make them a better goalie. And I think just the relationships I had with the goalie coach Jimmy Spratt and my goalie partners there um, really kind of pushed all of us to be our best every day of practice. And I think that kind of was the biggest attribute, I think, to me, is not having to worry about kind of looking over my shoulder, knowing that the guys behind me wanted me to do the best I could do. And if they got the chance, I wanted them to do the best that they could do. And it was just a very good relationships throughout my time through BG.
What was the transition like after your college career going to Hartford?
I think I struggled a lot. I think I struggled a lot with, well, actually, I think it was the biggest change was just my mental game. I thought kind of what I struggled with in juniors was just trying to do too much all at once and trying to make sure that I was kind of I was just trying to overplay the game and not let the game come to me. And I think that's when I'm playing my best hockey, is just letting myself get into positions and be in the right spots and not have to make big time saves. And I think I just got in my own head. And I think, you hear about the pro lifestyle and all you hear about is the glamour and the private jets and the money and the parties. And I think it was kind of just the culture shock of, you made it, but you still have a long way to go. And I think that was my biggest transition from when I went to college to pro, was just kind of learning that side of things.
Just want to touch on the college career just a tad bit more. So at Bowling Green, I mean, were there any teammates in particular? I mean, obviously your boys with DeSalvo, he was
Yeah.
lucky enough to let us know who you are, but were there anybody else, that you played with or against that kind of stood out like, wow, like I'm playing against or with this guy. Like, I can't believe that he's this good. Is there any names that stick out?
Yeah, I think an underrated player on our team going through college who's kind of made a name for himself now is Sean Walker. And I think going through college, not a lot of the guys really thought he was that good, but he was definitely fun to play behind. He was just always very, very steady and was a great skater, just good sense of the ice. And it was fun to watch him. The couple of years I had played with him kind of develop his game and then could move on and find success and kind of a nice role with LA. Playing against, kind of drawing a blank, but Roslovic was always tough to play against in Miami. So I think it was like him, Lewis, a couple other guys, but that team was always fun. Well, not fun to play against. It's fun to compete against guys at that level, but those guys always gave us some trouble.
Yeah, it's a hot name right now. He's playing lights out.
Yeah.
Nick, I believe you had a question or.
Yeah, I was just wondering, you talked about, sort of overplaying the game when you transitioned into Hartford. And I feel like, none of us were goaltenders, but we've had goalies come on here that have, sort of dove into how mental that position is. What was, sort of the trick for you to be able to sort of get out of that like mental headspace of like, I'm overplaying this, I'm overdoing this. Like, how do you sort of reset yourself?
I think it just comes with kind of finding the fun in the everyday grind and just kind of going to the rink and not letting yourself get into those like the mindset of like, oh, I got to do this or I got to do that. And it's kind of more so just like letting yourself fall back into what got you there. And because like what got you there is obviously going to work, as long as you trust yourself in that process, that you've done the work, that you've done everything you can in the summer to get you to a point where you can just go out and have fun and play the game. And I think the biggest thing for me was just I kind of just got tense. So like I felt like I had to stop every puck and you have to do this and have to do that. And you don't let yourself just kind of react. So like the biggest part I think for goalies anyways is you have to stay loose and have fun with it. Otherwise you're going to be so tense that you're going to be kind of stuck, and then you're not going to be able to move as well as you normally would.
It's interesting that you say that, because one of our former guests, Brian Cantor, for those who listened, he plays overseas in Sweden now, and he talked about how they actually brought on a sports psychologist to help for the mental aspect of the game, and he was talking about how much of a difference that's made for him, and he swears by it. He says he's going to keep doing it going forward. They got a guy that they hired, so it's interesting. Obviously we know that goaltending is a lot of mental, but
Yeah.
I mean, I think a lot of people have this problem, myself included. It's hard to turn that switch off sometimes. And,
Yeah, exactly.
I was curious if you've had any experience with sports psychology or know any guys who have.
Yeah, so we actually had a guy down in Hartford that I think the Rangers had on contract, and he had done a wonderful job of, like, it's just more so. I think the biggest thing with the sports psychology side of thing is just getting to be able to talk to someone that has studied the brain and just kind of knows little tricks and stuff. And obviously it's different for every person, but I think the biggest thing I learned is how to they teach you just, I'm not obviously not great on sports psychology, but they just kind of teach you how to stay out of your own head in a very easy way. And like, it's just like little tricks. Like if it's like a saying, like the one we had actually now here in Tucson, we just had a meeting with one, and I really liked what she had said. And it's like, fail forward. So everyone's going to fail in life. And I think the biggest thing she was kind of saying is, like, if you fail, like, you might as well fail forward. You can get back on your feet and just keep on going. And I think that's the biggest thing a lot of psychologists are kind of talking about, and in a sense of just kind of staying out of your own head. And everyone has these thoughts, but you got to kind of make sure you can navigate those in the best way possible to keep yourself in a right mindset.
Chris, you talked about kind of getting back to a point where you feel like you're having fun playing the game. A lot of times when we talk to guys that are forwards, it's easy to talk about big goals they've scored, or, big shootouts or whatever it is. I'm always curious when we talk to goalies, what are some of the most fun parts of the game for you, or some of the most fun big memories you have from games? Is it, a shutout? Is it a big save? What really makes you, or reminds you about how much fun the game is while you're playing?
I would say, I think just winning for goalies anyways. I think it's just like because you're either the hero or the villain, and there's no real in between when it comes for goalies. But I think winning, I think just like being able to like enjoy the compete and enjoy like that process, and to be able to just to win. I think that's, for me, the funnest part. And obviously sometimes that can be a bad mindset if you get caught in a losing streak. But outside of that, I think it's just more so the competing, like just being out there and like having fun and not being afraid to fail. For me anyways, I think it's like just having fun on the ice and just shooting the shit on the ice and stuff like that.
Is there any big wins that stand out to you as, especially memorable, or are they all kind of, win as a win? How do you look at it?
Yeah, I think a fun win I had was back in high school. We won in double overtime my junior year at the state championship to win it all. That was a blast. I would say any rivalry game at BG, like when we beat Ohio State, if we beat Miami, any of those, like kind of in-state rivalries, those were always fun to get up for. But other than that, just kind of anything in the playoffs. I think, obviously that's just a different breed. Is if you can win in the playoffs, you're having a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Seems like, you've kind of played for a bunch of teams post-college career. I'm curious to see if there's one destination that particularly stuck out to you. And I must say that the Greenville Swamp Rabbits is the coolest sports name I've ever heard. And I would love to hear if there's any like kind of crazy promo night that they did at the rink for you guys, because that sounds awesome.
I got to see what those jerseys look like too.
Yeah.
Oh, they're unreal. The best part about them was they used to be the Greenville Road Warriors too. So like, I don't think they've had a bad name in their past.
Awesome.
But Greenville is a great city. But I can't think of a better place than when I was in Florida for a little bit in Estero. The setup was just unbelievable. It was pretty much living out of a vacation. Our apartment complex was just unbelievable. And you come out of the rink every day, 75 and sunny. You can't really beat that.
Was that with the Everblades or I'm sorry, I can't read. Everblades.
Yeah, Everblades.
So what part of Florida is that in?
So it's right by Fort Myers. So it's just
Okay.
I want to say it's just inland from Fort Myers.
So you've obviously played in that kind of setting. From a player standpoint, like, and I've always wondered this, would you rather play in a place where it's like kind of a big market, like you got media, you got fans that kind of care, or would you rather have that flip-flops to the rink kind of vibe down in Florida?
So actually, what was cool is like they got a good like snowbird population down there. So like there's a good amount of people that came to games every night. Media wise, probably not as much as some other markets, but they found ways to put fans in the stands, and it was always kind of fun that way. But to go back to your question, I think it's fun playing where there's a lot of media coverage, but it's kind of a double-edged sword too, right? Like the media can be a lot of fun, but the media can also be your worst enemy at times if you're not playing well. So obviously it's fun to get kind of relationships on that side of things too. But I think anywhere where you can get a passionate fan group is always more fun, because that way you're going to the rink knowing that these people are coming to watch you play hockey, and it kind of gets you to try to be your best every day to kind of win for a city and kind of get behind almost kind of that college vibe of like, we want to win for each other, but like we have a full city behind us, and it'd be fun to kind of bring a championship back to a city that cares.
Out of all these teams that you've played for, do you have any sort of, I know DeSalvo told us a couple stories about like some 37-hour bus ride where like the bus like broke down and like they were stuck in like I think it was like a half a foot of snow or something like that. Is there anything like that jumps to mind?
Was that one from him from college?
Maybe.
I
I
can't
can't
remember.
remember.
I can't remember, but
I remember that trip. We were going back from Bemidji, and I was a freshman that year, and luckily I somehow lucked out on my turn that I had a bunk in the sleeper bed that time, because we didn't always have enough. So some of the guys would have to bring some mats and sleep on the floor. And we got caught up in like the Chicago area, and we were on the bus for a total of 22 hours. I think the worst one I've had was it was in Greenville. We had we were playing Tulsa for the weekend, and I think we were playing, I want to say, a Wednesday, Thursday game in Tulsa, and then we're coming back home to Greenville to play Friday, Saturday. So we had that day off on Thursday. But for some reason, we thought it was a good idea to make our flight Wednesday morning. So we had to get to the airport. I think we had to wake up at like 4 to get there by 4:30 for like a 5:30 flight. So we fly to Greenville, and I don't remember exactly where we connected, but we ended up connecting somewhere, and then finally touching down in Tulsa. So by the time we got to the hotel for Wednesday, we pretty much went for pregame meal, and then went back to the hotel, took a nap, and went and played.
How do you like keep yourself like, I guess, loose for something like that? I feel like my legs would be like just like a wet t-shirt in knots.
Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of what ended up happening with everybody was we came out very flat, and I think we ended up losing the game 8-1. But I think at that point for me, I was actually starting that game. For me, the biggest thing was just trying to have fun with it. But obviously when you're connecting and having your breakfast for the game that day in an airport, it's tough. But
yeah, I think now that I'm remembering, I think we prefaced the statement with Dan. You're saying what's some moments where you're like, holy shit, I'm in the coast, and it was that 7-hour bus ride or something. They broke down like a foot of snow.
Well, it's funny too. I don't think I was in Greenville at the time. I think I had just gotten called up my second year, like late, like it was later in the year. But one of our buses just caught on fire.
Oh my god!
Luckily, no one was on it or anything. But
That's not good.
I want to say it was either the day that they're supposed to leave, or the day before the bus just caught on fire and was ruined. I think one time I had we had woke up on a sleeper and kind of smelled a little funny. I'm like, what the heck's going on? The guy, the bus driver had just been smoking a dart. So the whole bus just kind of reeked of cigarettes. I'm like, this can't.
Oh my God.
So there's some funny stories. And I think that's the worst thing about the coast is there's a lot of good players, and I think it's only getting better. It's just the rep that it gets sometimes, and some is just not always the best.
One of my biggest fascinations with the ECHL is like the way that the living situation works. And I think we talked a little bit with Dan about this, but they basically kind of house you guys, right? In like team housing. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. So usually, depending on whatever apartment setup they have, it'll either usually be like a 2 or 3 bedroom, and then anybody with, I'm pretty sure it has to be a wife or like a longtime girlfriend, will usually be able to get their own apartment. But yeah, so they pay for the housing, and then we kind of just go from there.
Right. Yeah. My dad, he's covered hockey for a little while, and he told me one of the big stereotypes is that ECHL doesn't like married guys because they have to pay for extra rooms for those guys or whatever. But it's always fun kind of talking to guys that have spent a lot of time in the ECHL, because they always talk about how, or rather guys that have played in the ECHL and the AHL will often compare them and say that those ECHL teams feel a lot tighter, a lot closer, because when you're leaving the rink, you're all going back to that same like hotel type atmosphere. Whereas AHL, maybe you don't spend as much time with the teammates outside the rink. Have you found that to be the case too?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, when you think, yeah, exactly, because where they put all the guys in the coast is always going to be in the same apartment complex. So, like you said, when you go back, you just have way more opportunity to kind of just walk the door over or to the other side of the complex, and you're right there with the rest of the guys. Whereas, obviously, in the AHL, you have to find your own, and not everyone's going to want to pay the same amount or go in the same spot. So, I think that is definitely something I've seen, just because of the proximity of where guys live.
Do you have any like weird superstitions before games? I know that's like a general player question, but one of the ones that stands out to me is, and these two are the Caps fans, so they'll probably start blushing when I say this, but like when Holtby does his like freaky eye movement stuff, like do you have any weird quirks like that?
Yeah, so like I haven't really ever found that I do. I think it's just kind of, if any, like of my weirder scenarios like that is just maybe juggling or doing stuff with like hand-eye coordination. But outside of that, I'm pretty ho-hum when it comes to that. It's just kind of get to the rink. I try to stay loose for as long as I can, and I try not to really kind of dial in to the game until right before warm-ups, just because I find that sometimes if I get too kind of focused on the game right away, then by the time the game comes, I'm already mentally drained. But I mean, I guess probably the biggest superstition I have is just I start with like my left foot if I'm doing anything with like my socks or my skates, my pads, everything kind of goes left to right, and that's, I think, just habit.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's not even that bad. I mean,
No.
have you seen any goalies that you've played with where you're like, the fuck is he doing? Like, I don't understand.
Yeah, I think one of my partners one year had like a racquetball but not like the racquetballs, but he had a racket, like the actual racket, so he could use that. So I was like, what's the point? What's the point of that? Like I didn't understand that as much. I had one guy turn the AC off on me one pregame nap, and I woke up sweating in my sheets. I was like, what is going on? I'm like, oh, it must be, I don't know why I'm sweating so much today. And as I go walk to the bathroom, the AC shut off in the room. So that was definitely one that I've never seen before.
A little pregame sauna action, never kill anybody, right?
Yeah.
So what's life looking like now for you?
I'm actually in Tucson on a PTO.
Awesome.
We're out in Colorado right now and just trying to figure out this COVID year.
Nick, you go.
Yeah, I was going to say that's been nuts for everyone, but how has that sort of impacted you in your situation?
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing is everyone's carrying more guys now. So like I think you have to have 3 goalies rostered, and you have to have, I want to say, 3 or 4 extra players. So I guess it's, if anything, it's kind of giving me a chance to kind of get back into the AHL and definitely just kind of see where it goes.
It's awesome. We're definitely rooting for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been to Tucson personally. I mean, that area that surrounds it is gorgeous.
Yeah, and it's the way I look at it too. It's definitely a good place to be with this COVID stuff because like if you
For
you
sure.
can't do anything, so it's nice to just be able to walk around and it not be
Yeah.
freezing outside. You can go outside and sunny and warm.
Gotta escape those Midwest winters, right?
Yeah, I haven't had a good Midwest winter in like 3 years now.
There you go. That's a good
Well,
thing.
all the teams I've been on during the winter have been down in the south. I think the closest I've come is Adirondack for a bit.
Nice.
Do you golf? Gotta ask, because DeSalvo was talking about that a lot.
Oh, I love golf, and
Let's go.
I'm glad he didn't throw me under the bus. I've been a brutal golf partner for him these last couple of summers. We've
It's all good.
yeah.
What are you shooting?
Right now, not good. I think like high 90s, but I just love to get
Better
out.
than me.
Yeah.
Just a lot better than me.
Yeah, I was gonna say, don't feel too bad about that. Some
Right.
of us would kill
Yeah.
to crack 100. So
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think the average is like above, like the average golfer shoots above 100.
I think the average is like 108, which
Yeah.
comes out to, and I'm gonna get grilled if the math is wrong, like 6 strokes per, something like that. So
Yeah.
Yeah, as long as you're beating that, you can't be too hard on yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and golf always has that one hole that brings you back. So
Yeah, ain't that the
Well said.
fucking truth? Nick, you looked like you're gonna say something.
Yeah. So I know we sort of touched on all these, these AHL, ECHL teams that you've played with. Similar to what Harrison asked you about, like when you were in college, who's a player that like you played with or against that you were like, oh my God, this guy's unbelievable, and for whatever reason just hasn't gotten that, break that they may need?
yeah, trying to think. I can't really think off the top of my head right now. Yeah, I don't know.
Kind of put you on the spot. Our bad.
No,
Well, actually, that kind of leads me to another question. I think we asked, it might have been Fucali when we had him on, but maybe this is why. I know some goalies are real big on who's shooting, and they kind of know who's coming down on them in a game. But a lot of guys, from what they've told us, like to it's just every shooter is just another shooter. What side do you kind of lean to? I mean, do you really know what guy is out
think-
there?
Yeah, I think I definitely lean towards the just kind of get in front of the puck and see it. Yeah, I think that's definitely true for me. Is I kind of I don't always recognize the player as it's going on. I think once I look at maybe the roster after is kind of when I start to realize.
Videotape and stuff like that, sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, in game, I'm sure. I mean, I can't imagine how hard it would be. You have not much time as it is to react to pucks being shot at you, let alone time to figure out who it is that's shooting. So
Well, I think going off that a little bit is, I think the biggest thing for kind of knowing the players is more so teams' power plays is kind of when I think I kind of do the most pre-scout on, is just kind of seeing what setup they're going to be running that night and kind of knowing who the shooters on the power plays are.
This is a dumb question because I already know the answer. But like, I've been hit in the face with a puck. I've been hit in the face with a stick. What does it feel like to get like a puck off the mask? Because I feel like that's got a sting, or like, are your ears ringing, or like do you go like cross-eyed? Like, what's that like?
So it all depends where you get hit. So if you get hit
Interesting.
anywhere from like here to the chin, it's just going to be one of those that just kind of like just knocks you right in the face. Like you're not really going anywhere because where it's hitting you on the mask, that there's not much area for that like dispersion through the mask. So you're just getting smoked in the chin. That hurts the most. And then where your ears ring the most are probably like off kind of like the side. I'm not really sure why, but then if you also get a flat one like off the side of your head, it's like another thing. Like if that puck's on edge and it kind of hits you, it's almost just like a slap in the face. So, but I would say the ones that hurt the most would definitely be like the chin, because then you get your jaw involved and
Yeah.
all that fun stuff.
Speaking of, helmets and all that, I'm always curious to talk about goalies helmets. And have you ever got a chance to really have a cool one designed, or is there anything specific you would like to put on a helmet that's special to you?
I think ever since I turned pro, I've always tried to incorporate like a cheese head onto my back plate.
That's
There we
honestly
go.
awesome.
Wisco represent. Yeah.
That's incredible.
I love that.
I think I'm every helmet I've had since I played pro hockey has had like a little cheese head on the back in the back plate. But other than that, I really just kind of go after the back plate, and I just kind of talk with. I have a great guy, Vice Design. He's moved around quite a bit, but I just kind of let the guys that are more creative kind of put a vision together for the rest of the mask, and then if I like it, I'll say, yeah, let's do it, or I'll just kind of say, hey, maybe we can do this, maybe we can do that, and just kind of let them do what they're good at, and I just kind of throw some ideas on the back plate.
Yeah, that's awesome. I feel like goalie masks are like a tattoo for your head almost. It's pretty cool. I love all the stories behind that.
Yeah, exactly. And I love how like personal you can be with it, right? Like you can kind of tell a little story as much as you can with your helmet.
Are there any cool? Oh, I'm sorry.
Speaking of your mask, when we were digging through your elite prospects page and stuff, I noticed a picture of you in your Bowling Green match, which looked sick, by the way, but it looked like you were playing in an outdoor game. Did you guys get a chance to do like more than one of those, or was that just like a one-off thing?
So unfortunately, we only got to do one while I was there, and don't get me wrong, it was a blast, but the practice day was so much better than the game day.
Okay.
We got out, and it was like, I think 31 degrees. So like just under freezing, a good mix of clouds and sun, like the perfect time to play an outdoor game. And then that next day we get to the rink to bus to Toledo, because we were playing in at the Mud Hens, I believe. So like the minor league affiliate there for the baseball we're playing out on there. And we get to the rink and it is downpouring. And when I mean downpouring, I mean like legit downpouring. And we're all sitting there like, oh, we're not going to play. They're like, oh no, we're going to bus there. So we bus there, and it luckily gives up a little bit, but from puck drop to the final whistle, it was drizzling the whole game.
Jeez,
that's nuts.
And to make it worse, we ended in a 2-2 tie.
Oh God. Yeah, geez, that's the worst detail. Nobody really gets to like have bragging rights.
Might as well have not played.
Right.
Yeah.
It was the perfect game, but it just ended up being just kind of like a slap in the face. Like it rained the whole game and no one won.
That's rough. My last question for you, and I was just about to ask this, is are there any goalie helmet designs that you've seen in your time playing where you're like, wow, that's one of the coolest ones I've seen?
I've really enjoyed all of the Vegas Golden Knight ones so far. Yeah. But trying to think.
These two are gonna end up crying. The Caps fans don't like Knight fans apparently, so they're probably gonna get all butthurt, but that's okay. I like it too.
I don't think I can like pinpoint one. I just like we were kind of talking about, I'd love to see what guys come up with where they can like incorporate. I think it was Gibson has like the Lego figures on his, and like guys kind of throw in stuff that they've had kind of throughout their whole lives, and like kind of almost use it as like a story. Every new helmet they get, they can kind of build off the last one. I think that's kind of what I look for the most, is just kind of being biased as a goalie. Just I love all of them almost, if that makes sense, just to see the stories behind it.
I love a bunch of the ones from the 90s, like, Patrick Lalime in Ottawa had like Marvin the Martian. That one I'll always remember. And then like, hometown bias, Ole Kolzig having Godzilla on there. That one was cool. So cool too.
Well, it's fun too when you see guys kind of incorporate like something in pop culture into a helmet that fits in perfectly with the team, and like they can kind of fit in that way. I think that's always kind of cool to see. Yeah,
I'm pretty sure old time Penguins goalie Johan Hedberg, he was the moose. He had the moose on the back. I think Tristan Jarry has the Tom and Jerry logo a little bit on there. So that's I
know cool. Brian Elliott does the moose too.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Nick, Mac, you guys got any more questions? You guys all good?
I think I'm all good. Thank you so much for doing this. We really appreciate it. So,
Of course, no, it was a blast.
Mac,
Yeah,
you
same
good?
here. I think I'm good, but just to echo Nick, thanks a lot, Chris, for doing this. It's always fun talking to guys that have had, different backgrounds, and definitely cool to talk to a guy from Wisco as well. So
Yeah. Go back.
yeah, big thanks to Chris for chatting with us. Such a cool guy. I mean, and the stories and insights he had into where he's gotten to where he is today is really cool. So huge thanks again to him. And we're going to get into our picks for this week. But before we do, we just want to remind everyone that these picks are brought to you by the Maryland Mortgage Wiz. Are you planning on buying your first home this year? Get pre-approved and explore all financing options with Dave Fritz, the Mortgage Wiz. Interest rates are at a historic low, and down payment assistance programs are available. Stop renting and put your money in a place that you can call home. Follow Dave on Instagram at Maryland_mortgage_wiz for more information. Dave is licensed in Maryland, Delaware, and Florida. Equal housing lender, NMLS number 3094.
Thanks, Dave. Per usual. Boys, last week we weren't good. It was just kind of a shit show. We'll make
Just a
up for
weird
it.
week.
It's just a weird week. And I'm sorry, but it's so hard to pick this shit when there's back-to-backs and you don't know who's going to win the first one. And then you have COVID and you have people coming off schedules. How do you bet Dallas Stars games? They've played, I think, 16 games all year. No, and everybody else has played at least 19.
right, and the Stars have looked sick for 8 of those games, and
It's impossible.
trashed
Horrible
for the
for-
other 8.
yeah.
So it's the whole thing is a crapshoot. I have been especially bad. I think I'm on a real, at least with my published picks. Maybe I need to start publishing more of my gut picks, because I'll get guts during
Yeah.
the week and I'll bet them and they'll hit. But the ones I publish every week have been bad for 2 straight weeks. So let's turn it around. Let's get it going this week.
Yeah, we had a bunch of
Absolutely.
games. Harry and I had a game that we both picked get postponed, which sucks.
Mhm.
And, of course, that
Yeah.
happens at the last minute. So,
Right.
oh well. So yeah, last week sucked. Let's focus on this week. Mac, what do you got?
All right, I'll start it off. So, puck line, Canes over the Wings. I feel like that's definitely a mismatch. March 4th, I believe that is this coming Thursday. I think the Canes will win that one by 2 at least. Moving on. Money line. I like the Avs over the Sharks tomorrow, Wednesday, and here's why. Last night, I believe the Sharks won 6-2 or something like that. It was a blowout. I don't think that the Avs will fall again. I don't know if they'll be able to get a puck line or anything like that, but I think they'll maybe at least squeeze one out in OT or tighten things up and win that one. And then for over under, this was a hard week for me to pick an over under. I really, especially after what happened to me last week, God, I picked an under in that Bruins Islanders game, and it was 7-2 Islanders, like a 5-goal third period out of nowhere. So
It's all right.
no more unders. I'm thinking Hawks Bolts. Believe that one is Thursday, March 4th. Taking the over. I think these two teams have only played once or twice, and it was back in January or February. But I think these two teams are poised to score goals. I also don't like the Hawks goaltending on I'd say maybe they have a good night of goaltending 1 every out of 4 games or something like that. But Hawks Bolts, that one's going to go over. You heard it here first.
I'm sold.
I
That was
agree
great.
with you, and I picked the same thing.
Honestly, especially the Avs one. I like the research done into that one. Those bounce back games are key. So big fan on that. I'll be hopping on that action with you. Nick, you want me or you?
I'll go. So, like I said, I'm taking the same over as Mac, Lightning Hawks on Thursday. My money line, I'm going to do something I normally don't ever do, and that's bet on my own team. I'm going to take the Caps money line in Boston on Friday. The Caps typically match up with the Bruins pretty well, and the numbers are there to back that up. So, yeah, I don't know why. I just have a weird gut feeling about this one. This isn't the first game between these two, but it's the second one they're going to play this week. So,
Can I ask you why the second one and not the first one?
I feel like they're going to drop the first one for some reason. So drop the first one, figure it out, bring it back. firing on all cylinders for the second one.
Fair
And
enough.
my puck line is going to be the Leafs at the Canucks on Thursday. Leafs on the road. They look pretty good even without Matthews. And I think being on the road and not having Matthews in the lineup potentially could increase your value. So I'm going to go with the Leafs there.
Yeah, and the Canucks are a dumpster fire, so that doesn't
Yeah,
hurt
that
either.
too.
Well, speaking of that game, I'm going to take the over for for Leafs Canucks on Thursday, March 4th. I do think that the Leafs will win. I think the Leafs will put up a touchdown. I maybe not make the extra point, but I'm feeling 6. I really am. I think that's going to be a high scoring one. For my money line for the week, I'm going to take the Islanders money line over the Sabres on Thursday. I just think with all the shit swirling around in Buffalo right now, even if Eichel gets back into the lineup, it's just a lot going on. Locker room's distracted. Isles are steady Eddie. You know exactly what you're going to get. I think their game matches up well against the Sabres. So I'm going to ride with the Islanders on Thursday. And then my puck line, I usually don't do this in rivalry games, but these two teams could not be on more of an opposite direction right now. I'm going to take the Oilers puck line, which has haunted me multiple times in the past, especially on this show. But I am going to take the Oilers puck line on Saturday, March 6th against the Calgary Flames. The Flames are, pun intended, a dumpster fire, and the Oilers are scorched earth effect right now, even after their series with Toronto, in my opinion. I think McJesus shows up. I think he puts up one of those 5-point no-look goal Instagram highlight reel nights. So I'm going to ride with the Oilers puck line on Saturday night against the Flames.
Nice. I like that a lot. And you nailed it when you said that those teams could not be going in more opposite directions, because that is so true.
Oilers are hot. And
They are
you know
hot.
what? I'm kind of happy for them. Like, I don't like all the McDavid hype because, you know, I'm a Crosby guy, so whatever. But he's clearly better, and I'm not disputing that. But I'm just kind of sick of it. It's like the Mahomes effect. It's like, you know, I'm kind of like not trying to suck him off this morning. So maybe don't put his, you know, wiener in my face. Like,
Well, he got shut out 2 games in a row. So, I mean, he hasn't done much to lead the team in those 2.
I
It's
know.
like he's been good, but inconsistent, you know? Like,
yeah, he just like there's just those nights where he just erupts. Like,
yeah.
it's like, oh my God. Like, he is
his
so
point
good.
total is still insane because when he scores, he'll have like 5 points in one night, but then he'll go pointless for like the next 2, and then that basically evens out. You know, it's like, oh, he's a normal guy getting 2 or 3 points a night, or I mean, that's
It's just
so
like the Oilers themselves. They'll explode
Yeah.
for 7 one night and then struggle to get 1 up on the board for the next 3
Right.
games. So
right.
let's do the first and fourth liner. My first liner is going to be Patty Kane, 34 points through 23 games. I feel like no one's really talking about that, but that's pretty damn good. Let's not forget that this guy is still capable of doing some pretty wicked stuff with the puck.
He looks like he wants another Stanley Cup.
I
He
think
looks
he
like he
does.
should.
He looks like he's not fucking done.
No,
He looks like he's going to be in the Hart conversation if they make some noise for the
I
rest
think
of the
so.
year. So we'll see. Keep an eye on that.
My fourth liner is going to be Max Domi. So Columbus isn't really playing well right now. I think they've dropped their last 5. In fact, I'm pretty positive they dropped their last 5. Domi's only got 7 points through 23 games. That's not, I think, what they thought he was going to do when they brought him there. So, you know, when they get him from Montreal, I think they're expecting a little bit more out of him on a team that doesn't really have a ton of, like, you know, superstar scoring
Right.
talent. I think you definitely need it on a team like that.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think today's his birthday, random fact. No evidence to back that up.
Happy
Could be
birthday.
wrong. Yeah, we'll just say it. For my first liner, I'm going to pick Patty Kane's teammate, Alex DeBrincat. He's looked spectacular this season. Big bounce back year after a disappointing campaign last season when Nick predicted he was going to win the Rocket Richard. 25 points on the year to put him 7th in the NHL right now. He's got 8 points in his last 5 games, and he took a giant dump all over the Wings the other night with 4 points. He looks good. The Hawks are vibing. That offense and that over vibe is back. So that's always a good thing to have in our lives. And then my fourth line, I'm going to pick Carey Price. The Canadians have struggled, and that's honestly in large part because Carey Price's last 4 games have not been spectacular. He's 1-3 in his last 4 starts, and his average save percentage in those 4 starts is an .867 in that span. Granted, he did play the Leafs twice in that span, so that's going to obviously hurt you a little bit, but also had a really bad game against the Senators too. So Carey Price is going to be my fourth liner for the week. Mac?
It's funny. I actually almost picked both of those guys for my first and fourth liner because both of them are on my fantasy team. And so I'm like hyper aware of when they're doing good or when they're doing bad.
Yeah.
But I went with two other guys. First liner, Drake Batherson. This is a guy I wish was on my fantasy
I
team.
love this pick.
I had my eye on this guy. Anyone who knows me knows that I play fantasy day to day where I'm looking at who's available every single day. I'm thinking about pickups I can make. I often use all 7 of my matchup acquisitions in a week. And so I had my eye on this guy, but I didn't pick him up last week because the Senators didn't play that many games or something like that. Was going to pick him up this week. Somebody beat me to it. He's been great. He had 2 goals and a couple assists, I think, the other night. But yeah, he's a big part of why the Senators are buzzing right now. And nobody's talking about, I mean, this guy sounds like, I think I've said this before, but this guy sounds like Drake Batherson sounds like a name that you're playing Chell franchise mode so long that you've made it to like 2031 and the game has been forced to make up names of like who you're drafting in like the 6th round of the 2031 draft. Like, oh, they drafted Drake Batherson. Like,
Right.
but no,
I also just like, this is gonna sound stupid, but I feel like that's what Drake Bell's name should be. Like Drake Bell looks like a Drake Batherson. I know his name's Drake, but like the Batherson part
Like,
just fits well.
But like Drake Bell in like a prep school on the lacrosse team, I feel like.
Yeah. He's probably a midi, and then he brags about being a
Batherson,
midi.
Yeah. Oh man. All right. Anyway, fourth liner. It's time for our segment. Has Miro Heiskanen scored a goal yet? No, he has
That's
not.
crazy.
He has 9 assists in 16 games played, 0 goals. 4, I believe in his last 5 games, he has 1 assist. That's it. I hate to be so hard on such a young guy. I know it's like not that fair, but this guy was so fun to watch last season. And in the bubble playoffs, he was like one of my favorite players to watch in the whole league. So, you know, I'm not hating on him. I'm just like, I want to see that Miro again. I know he has it in him. And yeah, I would just love to see him find his game, but it's not happening.
I think he'll get it back, and he's getting power play time, I'm assuming, in Dallas. So
anyone in the league, in the fantasy league, if you're listening, I am looking to move Miro Heiskanen. I know I just talked him up for a real high value trade, but yeah, let's get him shift off.
Breaking news. Put that on a clip.
maybe we could put something together. I don't know. I'll have my guy call your guy.
All right.
Who's the commissioner? Is it you, Nick?
It's Mac.
I'm the commish.
You're the commish? Oh, you can make it happen. Threaten someone.
Right.
I mean, that's the power of having
I'll be
the
like,
podcast.
I'll add some stat corrections next time you lose by 0.1. And
There you go. Yeah.
I'll find a shot on goal that wasn't there earlier in the league.
Market report.
Yeah, let's do it. So I've got the Bolts. They've won their last 4. They look great, plain and simple. And then the opposite of that is going to be the Blue Jackets. Like I said, they lost their last 5. That's not good. They need scoring. They need help. They need basically everything right now. So those are my up and my down.
For my market report, I'm getting shafted in the real market, but nobody cares. The Avalanche, speaking of getting shafted, they're 3-3 in their last 6 and have looked incredibly inconsistent. They're barely in 4th place in the division right now. And their games played isn't like crazy far off. Like, I'm not saying that because they're like the Stars where they've only played 15 games so far. I think they're within like the 3 or 4 games played mark with all the other teams. So they just haven't really been able to string it together ever since that McKinnon injury. So I'm looking for them to kind of bounce back this week. So keep an eye on that. And then my up team is the Ottawa Senators. The pesky Sens, as Rear Ed loves to call them, they're back 4-1 in their last 5, and they're only 6 points out of a playoff spot behind Montreal. So let's see how it goes. They play Montreal quite a bit coming up. Not sure how that's all going to play out. I used to think I could guess those matchups pretty well, those Canadian teams, but that Montreal Ottawa one is just too weird sometimes. I don't know.
You just never know which teams you're going to get.
Yeah, it's just like, if you get Toronto, Ottawa over, like you'll probably hit it 80% of the time. But with these guys, I'm like,
It's either going to be like 8-7 or 2-1.
They play tonight, and I texted you guys earlier. Senators are plus 220 on the money line. I kind of like that. The only reason I'm hesitant is because the Senators beat the Habs last game, and I feel like you're playing with fire there.
I think the Sens may have won the last 2 even.
Yeah, it might.
Gotta go with the hot hand.
You
Or
might be
one of them
right.
went to overtime or something like that. I don't know, but you're right. Speaking of the Habs, they're actually my down team on the market this week. I'm trying to think of this market report as like teams that you maybe don't want to bet for or don't want to bet against. And so I feel like a good down team this week is the Habs because I was real hot on betting on them like 2 weeks ago and they actually won me some decent money. But
They were trendy. They were cool. But
yeah,
they're not anymore.
exactly. All my homies hate the Habs. But no, I wish they were playing well. I've said it on the pod before, but I like the Habs. But they're my down team. Wild, that's a tough team to bet against
They're
right now. It's the
hot.
Minnesota Wild. They've looked really good. Last night was super interesting. I actually got a chance. I been able to watch some of these later games. I had a chance to watch the Golden Knights Wild game last night. That was a barn burner. Really good hockey game, but what ended up happening, I believe Minnesota was up like 2 goals to start the third, maybe even. Yeah, they were. Maybe even halfway through the third. And Vegas rallied, tied it 1 in an OT. So I don't know. I would just stay away from any bets that involve the Wild right now just because they are hot. They've been looking good, but they still don't totally have like the glue that's going to hold them together. I think they're missing a little bit of confidence. They don't really have like one star player either, but they've looked good recently.
I could be wrong. I think they've won like 5 or 6 in a row.
Well, they lost last night, but before that,
Prior
yes.
to that, they had.
Yes.
Yeah. What is it? Kaprizov or Kaprizov?
Kirill Kaprizov. He's been
He's
unreal.
sick.
He's unbelievable.
Fucking
Yeah.
nasty.
He's
dude.
probably. I think he's top candidate for Rookie of the Year right now.
Oh, hands down.
yeah.
Yeah, he definitely should be.
I don't think it's particularly close.
No.
Speaking of rookies, did you see that Zegras tried the Michigan in like his second game?
And
Yeah.
like that would have been his first NHL goal tool. And
I
he was not far off too.
No, it was kind of like insane. I was like, there's no way that he's actually going to score his first goal with a lacrosse style. But
It's kind of funny that he gets to score a shootout goal before a real
Mhm.
goal, you know,
Yeah.
like that's
Which
gotta
was
be kind of
also
a weird
filthy.
feeling. Which was sick, yeah.
Yeah.
But
yeah, that's kind of got to be like a mixed bag of emotions. You're like,
right, you're like, cool. You scored on an NHL goalie, and it was
Yeah.
a big goal that helped your team, but it's not your first NHL goal, and nobody
No,
gives
that
a shit.
sucks.
Hot take. I've always thought this. They should give an award for best shootout shooter. I don't know why they don't have that yet. I feel like that's kind of like a.
What would you would you do that like a vote in, or would you do that like a stat thing? Like, is it like highest percentage over the season, or is it like
Maybe a vote thing.
okay?
Make it
They should,
spice
if
it up.
they
a
do
little
that, they should also do it for the goalie stat thing. Like,
Yeah.
bit. Ooh,
best-
Like
yeah.
the
goalie
players
in the
vote on the
shootout, like-
goalie and the goalie votes on the players.
ooh, that would be fun.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty
fun.
sweet. I don't know who you would name it after, but probably
Osh.
Osher Kane are the two that come. to
Matt
mind.
Hendricks. Matt
Ooh,
Hendricks.
yeah,
UC
Paralyzer.
Jokinen,
little can opener action.
right?
Exactly.
I do want to say before we wrap up, so now that this is official, and I'm very excited to say this, we now have an Empty Betters roller hockey team that is now can't even think of the arena we play at. Shit. I'll get back to you on that. But
At
it's
rank
like in
to be determined.
it's like in White Marsh. I can't remember what it's called.
Is it like near Honeygo Boulevard or something?
Yes.
I literally had like my 13th birthday party at that street hockey rink.
Holy shit. What's it called? Is it
I
like
don't remember. It might be called like Honeygo or something like that. I know it's like right off Honeygo Boulevard, but
the guys call it Honeygo? So
yeah,
I
it
think
might
it's
just be.
I think it's called like Freedom or something. I don't know.
Oh yeah, that
Yeah.
sounds right.
I
don't know
can't
the
remember,
exact
but
one you're talking about. It's a good
We are
rink.
now officially an Empty Betters roller hockey team with full-blown jerseys, like full team. We are starting in, I believe, the D League. So keep that in mind. There's going to be a lot of stories. coming out of
Alarmingly
this.
accurate.
Oh, yes, but we're going to work our way up to B. You mark my fucking words.
Does a goalie wear skates? I've always wondered this.
I think it depends on the league. I think in this league they do.
Okay, if I was the goalie, I'd wear sneakers in roller hockey for
Yeah.
sure.
Plus,
Yeah.
just so like you're not like pushing with an edge like an ice, like you're on a
it would
fucking
just
wheel.
make it tougher. I feel like, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So Empty Betters roller hockey is officially here. I'm debating like taking this by storm and like maybe starting like a little Twitter or Instagram page and keep live stats just to be funny. But that will be a new segment once that season starts with some good stories. That season starts, I believe, the first week of April. And yeah, I'm excited. Just wanted to get that off my chest.
Yeah, that's exciting. I'm pumped for it. The sweaters look incredible. So
It's an existing team that like needed guys, and I just came on and was like, "Hey, you guys got a team name?" And they're like, "Nah, we kind of want to rebrand it." I was like, "Perfect idea!" And then boom,
I
So-
happen to know of something that you could use.
we're actually being sponsored on that team too. By the way, shout out to Play It Again Sports. Our boy, my boy Clay, he works at Play It Again Sports. His family owns it. I worked at the one in Westminster, but there's a bunch of franchises across the country. The one in Westminster is helping us out. They're going to be having their logo on the back of it right below the jersey number. They kind of hooked us up with this, so I wanted to give Clay a shout out. We'll be working with him more going forward. Super excited. Good stuff. Small businesses helping small businesses. That's what the world's
Exactly.
about.
Exactly. You
know,
gotta love it.
Yeah, it's great. So yeah, that's all I really have to add at this point.
So you guys remember how my girlfriend's sister had a baby, like that I announced on the last episode?
Yeah, and you like hate holding babies and shit. Yeah,
No, I'm really, really good at holding babies.
but you don't like it,
just
right?
like, I mean, it freaks me out.
There you go. Yeah.
So I just wanted to say congrats because her other sister just had a baby as well.
Holy hell!
Joseph Salvatore,
What a
baby
name,
Joey.
Baby Joey.
Joey.
That's an Italian name. I love
Yeah.
that.
Oh yeah.
Joey
So,
Salvatore.
yeah.
Baby Joey.
Baby Joey. How you doing? Huh?
That kid can make a fucking oven pizza right now.
Kid's
easily.
got more hair than me.
Yeah.
Oh
There
my
you go.
God.
Yeah.
You just got the lettuce chop too. So
I did, yeah.
Mac, I gotta say, I love your hat.
Thank you. This is
Nordiques
one
hat.
I've had for a while. Yeah, it's a good.
Yeah,
one.
it's fresh. Any last couple notes, fellas?
I think that's it.
Oh, you go.
I was just gonna say I'm excited to watch some hockey. We're like an hour away from a bunch of puck drops. So there's some good games tonight. Islanders, Devils, Flyers, Penguins, a couple good ones. So
Yeah, absolutely. Be on the lookout on our social media page. We should be doing some type of giveaway on that coming up here shortly. We'll give you more details, but be on the lookout for that. We'll be sharing that on our stories and such. And, have a good week, everybody. Good luck with the picks. That'll wrap it up for us. And without further ado,
Class dismissed.